Welcome to the Actually You Can podcast. I'm Miff Galloway, a performance coach passionate about supporting ambitious and high-performing women just like you who know they have untapped potential just waiting to be unleashed. If you're looking to massively up-level your performance in all areas of life, you've come to the right place. My goal on this podcast is to take you beneath the surface so you can connect with yourself on a deeper level while providing you with valuable insights and the tools necessary to navigate life's challenges and go after your goals with strength, clarity, and wisdom. If you're ready to uncover the truth which lies underneath so you can recognize your powerful feminine leadership style, pursue your goals unapologetically, and thrive in every aspect of your life, hit the follow button and get ready to explore the incredible possibilities that lie within you. Together, we'll uncover your next steps in achieving peak performance, because actually, you can. Welcome to another episode of Actually You Can. Today, I have the incredible privilege of chatting with Ange, who is not only a blend of a coach, healer, channel, incredible mama, she's also a really good friend. So I know we're going to have a really great chat today because what we are talking about is all about mum rage. And we have had some really great chats together about this. And we just knew we had to share it with other mamas out there because there is something to this that I don't think a lot of people talk about. But a bit more formally about Ange before we start getting into the questions for today, when we're trying to figure out what exactly she does. She does a whole range of different things because she really is such an incredible gift to this world. But in a nutshell, she really supports mamas and mamas to be birth new versions of themselves, babies, the mother they desire to be, and their unique gifts into the world. So throughout this podcast, I have no doubt she'll be drawing answers from a whole range of different gifts that she does have, which I know is going to make this chat super, super interesting. So without further ado, Ange, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Miff. I'm glad to be here.
So let's kick it off. What exactly is mum rage?
Oh, I tell you what, because my background was that I was working with mums and parents in conscious parenting prior to becoming a mum myself, right? So I've always supported parents with their emotions. But becoming a mother myself, it activated their most deepest embodied experience of what we're going to be talking about, mum rage. And for me, mum rage is, I guess it's like an activation in your body. So me personally, it feels unbearable. It's not like just frustration, and it's not irritation or annoyance. It's like a volcano is about to erupt inside of you and you cannot control it. And the smallest little thing that can trigger it, and it can leave you feeling really confused as to what the heck is going on inside of you.
And so, how does that differ to normal anger? Because I'm with you. I mean, we've spoken about this. I have experienced what we're calling mum rage. And I feel like when I really struggled differentiating from anger, because I know we'll talk about the emotion of anger in more detail, but how does mum rage differ to just your bulk standard anger?
Well, when I look at the emotion of anger, I see it as like it's an emotion of protection, right? So anger usually comes about when your boundaries have been crossed, and mum rage can come about just from your child screaming or just from your child doing something that you think, why the heck is that making me feel so much rage? Kind of, I guess the difference is that it doesn't make sense. You're angry, you can explain, I'm angry because, and when there's mum rage, you're like, what the heck is going on inside of me right now? And it's like, you can't actually explain where it's coming from.
So that begs the question, where does this mum rage come from? Why do we have this all of a sudden, this rage that just feels so uncontrollable sometimes? And you're right, it's seemingly the most, for lack of a better term, inappropriate situations. Like your baby could be crying. Like, why am I angry at this right now? Clearly they're upset. Like, what's going on right now?
Yeah. So I want to talk to like, firstly, the basics of what a mother goes through, particularly from postpartum, in the postpartum period of sleep deprivation and hormonal changes and all of those things. Not to just like, also, it's really important to remember you've just had a being in your womb and it's activating all the suppressed emotion in your sacral chakra, right? In your womb space. So a lot of us haven't necessarily been able to express anger in our lives. A lot of us, you and I were having a chat before, and you're saying, "Yeah, but I'm not an angry person." And I was like, "Yeah, it's interesting because I would never have called myself an angry person either." But I feel that what happens when we become a mother is we have this connection with our child, but they're like our mirror. And it's like looking at this little being who will reflect back to you anything that is in your unconscious. So anything that is stored in your body that is suppressed. So if we take a child who is crying, or I think we were talking in our notes about, a child who's even just simply whining, they're whining or they're crying. And then all of a sudden you have this rage when typically you would think as a mother that you want to nurture and you want to empathize and you want to care for and support your child. And you're having a really big away from. It's like an anchor of like negativity, get me the heck away from here. This feels really painful. And you just want them to stop. And so the way I unpack that unconsciously is when we know rage is something that it's a protection mechanism. We have to ask, what's it protecting? Like, what is this rage protecting when I'm looking at my child crying? And so it's often unconscious pain or hurt. So, well, what happened when I cried like that when I was a child? Okay, was I left alone in isolation to cry and no one helped me? Because that would be activating the pain in my body, in my pain body. Was I punished? Was I shamed? Was I, yeah, like I said, ignored, therefore leaving me feeling unsafe, my needs not being met, I felt unloved, right? So all of that is getting activated in our body, and the rage is protecting the pain.
I love that.
Does that then?
Well, yeah, I'm just like staring off to space because I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what like I experienced a lot of love my family, but crying was something that I remember doing a lot of because I'm sure there's a reason why. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably protecting me from, I wasn't really able to cry much when I was growing up. Okay, Roger.
Yeah. So it's like a trigger has been
Yeah.
pulled, you know? And I know, being a coach yourself, but like triggers can go off with our senses. So whether it's something we smell, something that we hear, something that we taste, touch, all of those things. But often for mum, it can be the sound.
Yes.
It can be the sound of crying. It can also be like I was working with a mum only this past week, and she had rage watching her eldest child hit her younger child, and it brought up an unresolved conflict with her sibling from when she was younger. So when her eldest brother actually used to hit her as a child. And so when she was watching that play out between her two children, it activated absolute rage. So yeah, our children show us what's unresolved and they do it our whole journey. Right. So strap yourself in.
Yes, yes, they do. Buckle up. And so like my brain loves to be able to find meaning things. So I'm like, yes, cool. Mum rage is a protection mechanism. I understand now why I experience it, but I feel shit about experiencing it still. Like I experience the rage, and then I feel this tremendous guilt about now why I'm experiencing this rage. I'm like, because I shouldn't be angry. Like you mentioned, I wish I could be empathetic in this situation. Like, how do we deal with the guilt that comes after it? Do we have to go through this whole healing process to go back to these spots and heal that part of us, or can we logic our way out of it and just move on? What works?
Yeah, well, you probably know what I'm going to say because I don't necessarily think we can logic our way out of emotions.
Yes.
You probably know what I'm going to say. Firstly, though, I think like I'll speak from personal experience as well. But when it happened for me, because I used to say, okay, so I used to say to parents all the time, your child has chosen you, you have a soul contract. So whatever is going to play out between you and your child on a soul level, you've already agreed to it. Yeah. And so I feel like, that's not some woo-woo thing. I truly believe that we've chosen the lineages that we've come into because our soul needs the lessons that it needs to learn in this lifetime. And our children are no different. Yeah. And so I remember when this first started happening because I had mum rage from the moment I gave birth, Freya, and breastfeeding. And it was really interesting. Um, yeah, I won't go too much into it, but the rage that I felt had me needing to pass my daughter, my baby that I so wanted to hold and love, but to hand her over to my partner because the rage was so big. And then for him to need to nurse her. And I would just sit there, riddled with guilt and shame and cry and just like it was more of a question, why is this happening to me? When I could do the healing work to get to the core of what the trigger was, I had nothing but compassion for myself. And I think that that's like the pivotal moment is we're judging and shaming ourselves for the rage because we were judged and shamed for that experience when we were younger. Yeah. So when we can go in and get the learning and get the lesson and really hold space for that younger part of ourselves, then we can hold space for ourselves as an adult, and then we can hold space for our children as well. So it's kind of like a flow on effect. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
and I wanna come back to the feeling ashamed or judged in a moment, but before we do so, if you don't mind sharing, I'd love to hear a bit about what your healing journey was, because I know from our chats, you've gone through some pretty incredible experiences. You've pretty much experienced everything any mum could probably want to experience because that's apparently your contracted and what you need to experience. So,
Yeah,
yeah, what did your
yeah.
healing process look like and what you're able to share about it?
Um, Yeah, I think for me, I have a therapist as well, and I have many mentors. And there's been different parts of the healing journey because it's been so big and I've had so many different experiences. But if I was to hone in and talk particularly maybe about, I was going to talk about the crying, my journey with the crying, because that was the example I gave at the beginning. Um, what I realized was that I love my parents if they listen to this at any point. I love them so dearly. This is not a judgment on my parents in any way, shape, or form. Um, but my dad, he thought, the way he was raised and whatever, he thought that it would be okay for me to just be in the room. She's got to learn to stop crying. She's got, she'll be fine. And so put me in the room. And that really pulled on my mum's heartstrings. And even though, but they did do it. And so there was that controlled crying. And so I really needed to go back and be with that part of myself. I needed to go back and, it was a process through a therapy session or multiple therapy sessions, and really learn how to hold me with love, because there was a loneliness, there was sadness, there was no one's coming to help me, my needs aren't met, there was fear. There was all of those things. And so when I was able to go back and be with myself, I no longer really felt that energy between Freya and I. Like I was able to, I remember the night that I could hold her. It was like, oh, I didn't need David's help. I could hold her the whole way through the night. And it was like a relieving feeling of like, oh my gosh, I can hold my daughter how I want to hold her now. Um, because it's not that a mother ever, it's not that they don't want to do it. It's sometimes that it's just too painful.
Yeah.
And if something is ever too painful, that is literally like your flag, your, I guess, I don't know what to call it, but it's really your cue to get other help. if you don't know how to do your own inner child work, or if you don't know how to process, really it's trauma. It's past trauma. And when I talk about trauma, it's energy stored in the body that didn't get to finish moving through the nervous system.
Yeah.
And so you're going back and you're revisiting that to allow that to complete.
Yeah.
You're just allowing that energy to move out of the body. And by doing that, it then frees up the space for you to have more capacity to be able to hold your children how you want to. So that was the shift around the crying. It used to get me the most in the car, I would say. And for all the mums out there that know what I'm talking about car crying. And I think for me, it was because I couldn't get to her to hold her. It was, she's crying. I have to concentrate. And I can't stop right now. I'm on the highway. And then that became painful because it activates those, she's lonely in her tears. Okay. Well, all the times I was lonely in my tears. And then along comes the rage.
Oh, I yeah,
Wow.
I feel that too. Definitely the car one is tough because you're right. Like even if you want to do something, sometimes it's not always possible. And you mentioned that it was painful to be around. Like you wanted to be able to just hold Freya, but you just needed to hand her off in that moment. I don't know how else to phrase this because I'm not a big believer in shoulds, but what inverted commas should a mother be able to do and feel good about? Like, should we want to, hold our baby, nurse our baby, all that sort of stuff? And where would there be an indication? I mean, rage is a really great indication that there's an opportunity for healing and something to look at. But what other thing, like, what do you think? And again, I don't like this language, but what's natural that a mother should want to and feel good about doing
Right.
that could trigger
Yeah.
rage?
I guess what I'm hearing from you is like, I just go straight to maternal
Yeah.
instinct. So when a mother is disconnected from her maternal instinct, then we've got to ask the question
Yeah.
why.
Cool.
And it will usually be because she wasn't nurtured as a child herself. So, some mums are able to physically be there. And they're like, yeah, I was there and I was holding them and I was nursing them. And, when that child grows up and goes to have children themselves, they find it painful to physically be there. And they're like, but why? My mum could do it. I don't get it. And it's not that your mum couldn't do it, but was your mum actually all there? Could you feel your mother? Because if you couldn't feel your mother because she was disassociated, not present, unable to be with her own emotions, then, I guess there's like that attachment's not formed. Yeah. And that's painful, I guess.
Yeah. I
Because
remember reading somewhere just recently, there's a difference between presence and energy. It's like you can be with your baby all the time. It's like you can be with another human, but you can feel when someone is actually with you and when they're not. And babies feel the same. And so, yeah, it was insinuating that babies pick up on energy. And I was like, that's a really good point because you can be
yeah,
like, yeah, I'm a present mum, but are you energetically available to them as well?
yeah. And even more to that myth, they don't just pick up on energy. Whatever we're not processing and feeling, they process and feel. And I'll never forget when I had the lived experience of this where Freya was crying, she's crying. I was like, I don't know why she's crying. I can't stop her. I don't know what's going on. And since obviously Lionel was like, you don't need to stop her. You can let her energetically have her release. You can also inquire as to what she's communicating, what is she needing? Is she hungry? Is she tired? Is she, et cetera, et cetera. But what came to me was I went and sat in the rocking chair and David was like rocking her and he was bouncing on the Swiss ball. And I sat in the chair and I tuned in and I was like, well, hang on, how am I feeling right now? And I just started crying. I just had tears just like streaming down my face. And I was like, oh, I'm feeling guilt because I don't know how to soothe her. I'm like, there were all these emotions. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. There were all these. And as soon as I started crying, she stopped.
Of course you
I,
did.
of course. And I realized because she was expressing what I was suppressing. So it wasn't, it wasn't hers to release. It was mine. And this is really common. This is really common.
So you're in an episode of mum rage, like your baby's whining and you're just feeling this immense rage. And now you're like, oh my God, like I need to process this because I don't want her to process this. Like, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah, well, I've processed many times with Freya, like, and I at first thought that that wasn't okay, or this is not what I should be doing, or I wasn't really sure at first. Um, I remember I was putting her to bed in the early days, and um, she was crying a lot, and David was away at a retreat, facilitating at a retreat. And I was like, why am I so angry that I'm here doing this on my own? Like but it wasn't just anger. It was proper rage. And then so I'm nursing her and it's like, just, moving through memories in my mind. And I was like, show me. I was asking my higher self to show me. I was like, show me what is at the core of this rage. Like, what's the pain under it? And it was abandonment. It was for all the times my dad wasn't around. My dad worked night. My dad was, he worked nights. He was busy. And here I was trying to put Freya down and David was away and Freya was crying and she might have been feeling his absence or I could have been projecting that completely. But, it was that moment where I just gently allowed all those tears to move down my face. And I was holding her and it was fine. She then just went to sleep. So I guess when we soften and when we feel, we're teaching our children, our babies, that no emotion is a bad emotion.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, I have rage in front of Freya. Yes, I have sadness. Sometimes I might have worry come up. Sometimes, like whatever the emotion is, we're human beings. We signed up to be in a human body. And when you sign up to be in a human body, you sign up to the full spectrum of emotion. So if you don't know how to process it and you don't know how to manage your emotion, you won't be able to do it in front of your children. So the first step is like learning how to do that for yourself and then learning how to be able to then model that for your children because it gives them permission to show up in their authenticity as well.
And so what happens if we don't deal with it? For example, what happens if we just go, yep, I experienced mum rage. Great. What's the consequences for you and your child?
Yeah, well, the mum rage doesn't go away.
The next like
So
80
I
years of
can,
your life.
I can assure you of that. They will keep doing the same thing and they will keep poking at it and then you'll keep feeling rage. And this is where, often, because I've been working with mums for so many years, but this is where sometimes exercise comes in. I'm going to exercise my way out of the rage. I get it. I get it. I used to do that too with my emotions. We don't need to shame it, but drink some wine. I know some mums that will just have a little bit of savor-day oil, like, or other things. Like it's like, how can I avoid? But it's not ever going to go away. And the thing is then the cycle is repeated. So your child then grows up and they become a mother or a father and they experience the same thing in their parenting and this is generational trauma. So there's no right or wrong. You can choose to do that and pass it on, or you can choose to have the courage, put on your big girl pants and, face it. I think that, what we're being asked to do at this time on the planet. I really do.
Amen. I completely agree. And I just want to address too that, giving birth to a baby is one of the most fucking challengingest things. It's not even English. See, that's how much it's fried my brain recently with lack of sleep. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. And then it's bringing up all this shit as well. So it's like you're going through this huge transition and then all these wounds are being dug up at the same time. Like it's like a perfect shitstorm of a shitty experience for a person to go through. And so I want to just call it out for what it is. Like it is really fucking.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And this is where since being on the other side of that and, um, looking back, I'm really grateful I did a lot of work in my pregnancy, but this is where I'm like such a big advocate for women really doing their deep work in the pregnancy because the baby's in the womb and the baby's stirring up all the energy. And it's such a great opportunity to then be able to just soften a little more into motherhood. It's a big initiation. It's, I think they say, I can't remember the percentages, but it's like seriously nearly up to 50%. I'm pretty sure is what I read. Um, of marriages and relationships ending in the first year or two of parenthood because, and partners become parents that activates their childhood shit,
Mhm.
basically. And then we project that at each other.
Yeah.
And the child. So yeah, it is big and I do believe it needs acknowledging. And the other thing on the other side that I always really want to mention is that it's hard. And when you have the right support and the right tools, um, and the ability to accept and understand yourself, I believe that it can become gentler and that we can soften. And also, as we move through this stuff, it opens the heart more, you know? So I do believe that it's like such a heart opening experience. And some parents, some mothers don't have the challenges early on. They might have it later. Because remember, it depends on your journey when you were a child. So some mothers I know, they don't have it, they didn't have it with girls. And then all of a sudden with the boy, they had it. And it's like, because it's coming through, the father's lineage or whatever. So everyone is just so on their unique journey, you know, and sleep deprivation doesn't help. And some people, their partners work away. I have a partner that works at home. So I've been so lucky I haven't had that loneliness. But someone that works at home. So, but some women go into deep loneliness. So there's just, there's so many parts that I could talk to around motherhood and emotion and rage. I could talk for hours. Um, but yeah, I think every journey is unique totally. And it definitely needs honoring for the initiation that it is 100%.
And I wanted to call out just how challenging it was because I can imagine there's this going like, I'm in like the trenches. Like this is really hard. I don't have time for healing. Like I don't have time for any additional work. Like I'm barely keeping my head above water. And so you articulate it so clearly. It's like this doesn't go away, but it's actually really supportive. Like it can help to relieve some of the pressure that you might be feeling, help you to address it. So what was most important for me to be able, like in terms of motivation for addressing the shit that was coming up was so I can enjoy this part of my life. Like I don't know if I'll have another kid. I also want to be the most present parent that I can be, and I have this whole goals for how I wish to show up as a parent. So if something pops up that contradicts that, I'm curious about it, and I'm like, oh, let's play with this. Let's dig a little deeper here, and it's not really fun. And it does involve a little bit of work, but it's an opportunity to come out as the person that you wish, like that I hope to be as a mum. By not doing the work, then I'm not actually proud of the person that I'm showing up as well. And that triggers the guilt whole sort of spiral. So yeah, I wanted to call out that it is hard. And if it's not the journey that you wish for it to be for yourself, then there is support you can get from incredible people such as yourself to change it. Like it's not like you're destined to have this shitty experience.
No, not at all. It's happening. Some mothers might find this challenging to hear. I know I would have, but it is happening for you and not to you. And so I really do believe that we can find our empowerment and really reclaim our power through motherhood. Like I'm so passionate about that. And if we're gonna, if we're going to have a rebirth on the other side, that usually means going through the trenches. Like it means going down into the underworld, looking at the stuff you don't want to look at, facing off the parts of ourselves that we've been afraid to look at, bringing love and compassion and acceptance to each of those parts, because that's what dissolves the guilt, to then be able to be the mother you want to be and to have the experience that you want to have in motherhood for sure.
And I want to circle back quickly to mum rage specifically, because I know there's
Mhm.
been experiences where I've experienced mum rage and my partner, love him to death, just be like, you're being a bit of a bitch. And of course, that triggers a whole bunch more different rage. How can you effectively communicate what mum rage is to your significant other?
Yeah. I don't I don't think that they get it, but I think that dad rage is a thing too. So I've actually worked with dads that have dad rage. And so really that usually comes when the dad has a son and they have had and they've had an experience in their own childhood and then they're getting triggered by their
Yeah.
son. So I've seen that play out. So if they haven't had a lived experience of the rage, they're not going to get it at an embodied
Yeah.
level. But I believe that there are starting to be some really epic men's work opportunities out there now for dads to gather to start to understand what a mother actually goes through from pregnancy to birth to postpartum and those early years. And I think it's really important that dad actually take time to absorb and have this knowledge. Because without the knowledge, they can't have the level of empathy that's actually required. And empathy is what actually can help someone to come back to regulation very
Yeah.
quickly. So if a partner was able to actually put his hand on your shoulder and go, hey, I can see something's coming up for you right now. Do you want to take 5? I've got it. It like
That even just you
that
saying that, you're like, oh,
tingles
thank
through my
you. Yeah.
body. Yeah, it's like a relief. It's like oh my gosh, we're a
Yeah.
team. Oh my gosh, we're in this together. It's I'm supported, I'm seen, I'm heard, I'm understood, all of those things. So again, like I'm a believer that we do co-create our reality. And if we haven't got a partner that is doing those sorts of things, we've got to look at what's going on within us and our belief systems around support. Do I have a belief that I'm unsupported? Do I have a belief that I'm not understood? Do I have a belief that I'm not heard or not loved? Like, what are my belief systems that are co-creating this experience with my partner where he can't step up and have empathy and support me in the journey? That's a whole new episode on your
Yeah, I was gonna say yes to all of
podcast.
the above, and I know that the listeners of this podcast will also be able to say yes to all of the above. So, so we'll park that one, but no, that is there the beliefs that you have. Mhm. And so
Yeah.
that is incredible. Like even just you mentioning describing that support, I felt like my whole body relax and be like, oh, thank you. And so, what is some support
Mm,
that you can give yourself in that moment? So you feel like the volcano of rage starting to like bubble. What can we do for ourselves in those
mm.
moments before it erupts?
Yeah. So I've started like when it was happening for me in the car, I started doing a bit of mantra and chanting. And it wasn't that I was like trying to suppress it and trying to push it away. It was like, well, now's not the time for
Yeah,
me to
100%.
process. So I'm going to use some mantra or I'm going to do something just to move some of this energy very gently. Like I'm not trying to push it away. I'm not rejecting it. Like, so sometimes I honor, like, yes, I can feel you rage. I get it. And I'll start like a mantra of some sort, Maranatha or I don't know, something
Yeah.
like a mantra. Or breath,
It's a bit,
to move the energy. There's so many different types of breath, but breath. Um, and then there's been times when, I've literally been like, this has to come out. I need to let this out. So I'm gonna, I've been in the car and literally put my hand, put my mouth on my arm and go into my arm like, because I needed to move the energy. And as soon as I moved the energy, oh, she stopped. Like, Swansea. right? So if we can start to see it as
Yeah.
energy, we then no longer need to label it and attach
Yes.
shame and judgment to it.
100%.
When we can start to understand how energy moves through the body, you know.
Yeah.
But I think prevention is also really important. So we don't need to wait for a trigger to be doing our regulation practices. Like, it's 15 minutes of breath in the morning. I've done it with Freya and crawling all over me. I've done it with Freya. Now she's a toddler. She brings me all her books and this and that. And I'm laying there with some music on, just in, out, like, regulating breath. And sometimes I might set an intention and I might have insights come up or emotion come up, or there's so many different styles of breath work as well. I'm not talking like holotropic. I'm talking like let's actually get into, I guess, what do I want to call it? It's like, I guess it's like a homeostasis, but it's the ventral vagal state where you can access your higher
Yeah.
self. And you can have those conversations and you can get the bigger picture and you can have the insights drop in, all of that sort of stuff. So it's like when you're really deeply connected to heart. And so, yeah, I allow time for that every single day. Because if I don't do that every single day, I don't show up as the mother I desire to be.
And I think it's really important you say that too, because I think like if you lack in your energy is a cup full of water, every day as a mum, it's being drained. Like I don't know if any mum who's like wakes up with a full cup and nothing impacts them throughout the day and they leave the day with a full cup. And so I love that you have this ritual, a daily ritual to make sure that you're always filling your cup. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have it, and I actually have an extra thing to
Yeah.
add to that as well with the pouring of the cup. So I feel like I've had a bit of the key ingredients land as to how you can keep that cup. You know how you said they pour from the cup and it becomes empty. I feel like it can stay full if you're really present in how you're pouring.
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm pouring and I'm experiencing pleasure and joy, then like if I'm really with Freya and I'm in joy with her, I finish the day and I go, yeah, that is that.
Very good point.
Like, so I
Yeah.
believe that how the energy of what we bring to our day can drain us, or it can continue to fill the cup back up throughout the day.
That is so true. Like even just thinking about it, like I've had some really
Mm.
fucking fantastic days. What am I
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, totally. Totally. But it would have been because this all landed for me when I was out in the desert, when I was receiving these activations from the elders out there a few years ago before I conceived Freya. And I was being activated with what was coming through as the Divine Mother. And I was having that really shitty experience. I was really sick and I was having to cook for like 40 women on a campfire stove. And I was up at 5 a.m. in the morning and I was so unwell. And like we were in the middle of the desert. There were no toilets, there were no showers, there was no power, there was nothing. And I remember just being in this state of like, oh, this is so hard. And then the download came of like, but it doesn't have to be. It won't be hard if you bring pleasure and joy and you bring like bliss and you bring like, so I started singing when I was cooking and I was like, oh, this isn't so hard. And I started to shift how I was doing things and how I was pouring from my cup. And it was epic. So I have to remind myself of that often in motherhood.
That's a really good perspective too, because I mean, I've had guests on the podcast before and we talked about spiritual bypassing. And it's like, no, some things are just shit. If you're thinking like, oh, what's the good in some situations, then you're just not acknowledging things are shit. I think this is different. It's going, you're not saying this isn't, being in the desert, unwell, cooking 40 women at 5 a.m. in the morning. Like that is challenging, but you're choosing to go, yes, how can I bring joy to this? You're not going, oh no,
Yeah,
it's
that's
easy
right.
and fun. You're
No,
making
no.
it.
And I did process,
Yeah.
I did cry and I did be with my emotions and I really acknowledged how hard it was. And then it was like, okay, you've done the acknowledging and like now, like what's the solution? Do you want to stay in the victimhood of this or do you want to like bring something that could help you, you know? So I see the motherhood the same. I'm like, do I want to stay in the story of victimhood in motherhood? Or do I want to bring some ease? Yes, I process. Yes, I regulate. And how can I make motherhood more joyful today? And I ask myself that question every single day.
I love that. That's such a great question. And because we do have
Yeah.
a lot of choice, more choice than I think people acknowledge.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
the I'd be interested to, I mean, we talked about some great tools on how we can stop the rage before it becomes rage, how we can help process it when we experience it. What happens if, for example, we've shown the rage, we might have lashed out and yelled at our child or something. Now we feel extra shitty about it. What is a way that we can repair? I don't know how to say repair the relationship with our child
Yeah.
once they've been victim of our rage.
Yeah. I think like this is really important because no one's perfect.
Yeah.
No parent is perfect. No child is perfect. Yeah. And I think repair teaches them about our humanness as well. And I think the reason why some of us have still got all of our, maybe unprocessed traumas from our childhood is because our parents didn't maybe do repair, or maybe they did it, but they didn't do it effectively. So, learning how to repair is really important, and knowing that we all make mistakes, or we all make choices that might not have been the best choice at the time. But it's, yeah, it's learning how to take responsibility, and it's learning how to apologize to your child, and then also explain to them, like, what were you feeling? What was going on with you? You own it. So you're really mindful of the language of, you made mummy angry. No. Like, so I hear language sometimes, I'm in the shopping center or whatever, and I go, oh, well, you just dumped that on your child. That's not repair.
Ugh, they'll be dealing with that one
Um,
later. They'll be processing that
yeah,
outcome.
yeah, exactly. So it's more, it's like, I feel like I felt really angry before, and that's mine. That's not yours. This is mummy's stuff. This is mine. And, I did this, and I realized I could have done this instead. It's like full ownership, full responsibility. It depends on the age of the child as well, right? I know with Freya, if I have like, maybe raised my voice and gone, shit, that's not the mother that I normally am or want to be. Um, so I talk to her about it. I explain it, and I explain why, mummy raised her voice because this was happening inside of me, but instead maybe I could have done this, you know? And then, yeah, it's like, I think it's also preparing your children to know how to manage their emotions by modeling it yourself as well. So if you are going to do repair, then you need to really go and deal with the trigger, set you off. It's the same as any relationship, right? I lash out at my partner and then I go to repair and I take ownership, but I don't go and deal with the wound. I'm going to do it again. So it's the same sort of thing. The repair is just one part. The repair is the ownership. But then you've got to go and look at what was triggered in the first place, so that the trigger doesn't keep happening. And if it does, you need to be so conscious that you make a different choice.
Because you're right, it does keep getting triggered and it becomes tiring. Like if you're aware of it, you're like, oh, I know when X happens, I do Y. And it's like, well, if you could just stop X from happening, then you wouldn't have to deal with Y.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this is, I guess it's another reason to do your healing work. Yeah, and it doesn't. I like whenever I talk about doing your healing work, it doesn't mean you're broken.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. You are so worthy and good enough. Healing work is literally just like energy hygiene. Like, it's like brushing your teeth, but for your body, and it means that there is unprocessed energy in your body that is wanting to move out. So we can start to see it like that, it releases, I guess, the shame too.
And I'd love to hear what would be some parting words you have for a mum who is in the midst of feeling mum rage. She's just constantly expressing this rage and she's landed on this podcast and she's like, Ange, what do you have for me? What are some words of wisdom you have for her?
Yeah, well, firstly, you're not alone, because I think so many women and mothers think that they're alone. You're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. Um, get help, get support. There's no shame in getting support. It's important. It's important for you. It's important for your child, your children. It's important for your relationship partner. It's important for your generation and your lineage. You've come here at this time on the planet, and it's the time for creating change.
And so on that note, what's a really actionable step this mum can do in the next 24 to 48 hours to help to manage, overcome, deal with their rage?
Well, send me a DM. Send me a message on one of my social media platforms and let's chat. Let's
So
chat
where
because
can
I
we find
have,
you?
yeah. So on my Instagram, I have a new Instagram account. That's a whole new story. But I have a new Instagram account. It's called Village for Mamas with a double M. Um, and then I also have my old account, which is Angela Tonkin. So jump on there and you can message me. I have script programs that I offer, supporting women, particularly mums, becoming the mother that they desire to be. But alongside that, we kind of do a complete life overhaul at the same time so that you can be more in your pleasure and joy in your life. And I also have opportunities for working with me one-to-one. Sometimes I have workshops. Uh, Here on the Northern Rivers where I live, I'm actually birthing a village for mums, where mums, so if you're listening to this and you're in the Byron Shire, Tweedshire area, I am going to be launching Mother Village Days, 1 day a week where mums come together to mother together. And it's going to be all sorts of nourishment and beautiful things for mums to support them on the journey.
Sounds so incredible. And I'll be sure to put your links in the show notes. And it's so hard to describe really the incredible value that Ange does offer. I've had the pleasure of working with her one-on-one years ago. And, you sign up for a coach and you kind of never know really what to expect. But Ange is just such an incredible depth and breadth of wisdom, experience in a whole range of different subjects and topics. So she's an incredible one-stop shop for mamas, for women who are looking to up level, do anything different in their lives. I highly recommend you checking out her profiles because she has definitely been a catalyst in my journey. And I know I'll be forever grateful for that. So thank you, Ange. And thank you for jumping on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me. And looking forward to hearing from some of you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope this was helpful. If you thought of someone while listening to this podcast, I would be so grateful if you could share this episode with them. While you're doing that, please also take a moment to leave a review on the podcast if you haven't yet already. It takes less than a minute and it means so much to me and helps this podcast to reach more people just like you. Thank you so much for that, and I'll see you in the next episode. In the meantime, go out and achieve every dream you have, because actually, you can.